Alrighty, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. It's Ultra Kevin here with Mr. Coco in the background. Sign, yeah. Anyways, today we're doing a tier list. Currently uploading a tier list video, but I want to make another one because I'm a big fan of tier lists. I don't know why, what it is, but I just like making tier lists. And today's tier list is a Dragon Ball Sagas tier list. Okay, please ignore the ads. I don't know if you have to pay to get rid of them. I'm not paying, but I'm a very big Dragon Ball fan, and I thought, why not start here? Especially because I'm playing Sparking Zero right now. You know, why not go through the arcs? Okay, well, Sagas. So this is a Dragon Ball Saga series. It goes, as you can see, from the beginning of Dragon Ball to the end of GT, which somewhat, you know, chronological. The story diverges, with alternate timelines and different continuities. But canon aside, this is more or less the definitive timeline for Dragon Ball. Okay, they can still somehow fix these loose ends. Okay, especially with the new Super Beerus anime coming out this fall. Maybe he could be like, this is my strongest form. Haven't been able to use Super Saiyan 4 since I left the demon world. Something light like that, Just to close all continuities, alright? Or if they ever remake GT, they could say, I haven't been able to use, those God transformations since Beerus went away. I don't know. Anywho, we have the Emperor Pilaf saga. This is what started it all, okay? And this more or less lays the groundwork for original Dragon Ball, okay? It sets the stage for a lot of important characters. You get Master Roshi, you get Bulma, of course Goku, you get Yamcha, you get Pilaf, who is in this saga and then doesn't really make an appearance until Piccolo Daimao. And then I don't think he makes an appearance until I think in Future Trunks saga. And then he's quiet until the Black Star Dragon Ball saga. But this is what starts it all. You get to learn what this world is, what exactly Dragon Ball consists of in terms of world building, character building, as I just said. And in all honesty, I think I gotta give this an S tier because it's funny. Actually, we have Z tier. Oh, then we're putting this in Z tier. Alright, because this is not just because this was started off, but because it starts it off. Okay, it gets you hooked on the show, on the characters, and you want to know more. And then the 21st, Tenkaichi Budokai has incredible training arc. Okay, eat, sleep, it's like train hard, study well, and eat and sleep plenty, bro. Wise words. Alright. And in all honesty, I think I'm gonna put this in S tier. Excuse me. Just because I want to keep Z tier a little reserved. Also because, I feel like the later tournaments, especially the 23rd, is much better. Anyway, it sets the stage for the martial arts aspect of Dragon Ball. Okay, and it sets in stone a very important message in Dragon Ball, which is there is always someone out there who's stronger. It's perfect. Okay, then a Red Ribbon Army saga. I'm gonna put this in A tier just because it was a great saga, but it wasn't it didn't hook you as much, I would say, as the Emperor Pilaf or as the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai. It is important, however, because Android 8 taught Goku how to have mercy. I feel like if it wasn't for Ader, then Goku might have killed Vegeta, he might have killed Piccolo Jr., he would have killed Frieza first try. Alright, he would have slammed out everyone, if I'm being honest. But nevertheless, had a very interesting cast of characters. So that's what makes it high. But it wasn't as crazy as the 21st Tenkaichi or Emperor Pilaf. Fortune Teller Baba Saga. I got this A tier as well, just because it has the same amount of interesting characters, great amount of world building, in terms of showing that there's another world. All right, it's not just Earth as we see it, and there's a bunch of people with insane hacks. Okay, like Spike. Okay, he can just shoot you with a beam, and depending how evil you are, that's how much you're affected. So like someone like Frieza would just get one shot. It's crazy, right? Spike, who got soloed by Goku at like what, 12 years old, slime out Frieza. All right, and Grandpa Gohan, such an emotional scene with Kid Goku. Then we have Tien Shinhan Saga. Personally, I would call this 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai, but nevertheless, I feel like all of this gets an A tier. It's an extremely well written tournament saga. Okay, this is still when most of the characters are very relevant. Okay, it's not like Super Wars, the Goku and Vegeta show with featuring Gohan and Piccolo, but Tien Shinhan, incredible character. All right, let's just be honest. Tien, he's the GOAT. Okay, trains so hard, still gets done so dirty, but he puts in the effort and he stands up at all the right times. Okay, I mean, just look at him destroying Jackie Chan, and Goku would have won if it wasn't for that freaking truck. Okay, let's just be honest. But regardless, it's a great saga. It even showed him outgrowing the Crane School. Okay, outgrowing, his master, outgrowing Mercenary Tao, or I guess Cyborg Tao. It's great. And then Piccolo Daimao Saga also gets an A tier, because I feel like Demon King Piccolo served to grow Goku a lot, in the sense that he slimed out Krillin. Okay, well, his kid did. All right, Symbol, slimed out Krillin. All right, I'm not sure if I can say that on YouTube, so I'll say he slimed him out. All right. Low key, knowing I started watching Dragon Ball, the series, with OG, but looking back at it, would have been cool if his hair flashed blonde. Obviously in the Namek Saga, it's a bit different, just because Krillin can't be brought back by the Dragon Balls anymore, at least not to Goku's knowledge with the Namekian Dragon Balls. So it adds to the tension, Tien Shinhan, and to why he turned Super Saiyan then and not in Demon King Piccolo Saga. But Goku's growth, his training here, I feel like genuinely put him quite a hefty step forward, especially his final hit on Demon King Piccolo, bringing out the Ozaru. Oh my goodness, big fights. All right, bringing back Roshi, bringing back Krillin. I believe, I don't know if it was Tien or Chaozu who lost as well. It was awesome. Piccolo Jr. Saga. This is going in Z tier. All right, Goku and Chi-Chi get married at the end. Okay, beautiful ending, and Goku finally wins absolute cinema. All right, not only is he happily married ever after, but he finally wins. After 3 tournaments, he finally wins, and he had mercy on Piccolo Jr. Not just because he's linked with Kami, but also because he just wants to fight him again. He believes in mercy that he learned from Android 8. And I think this is pretty good. Low-key, I'm going to move Emperor Pilaf Saga down to S tier, just because I feel like in terms of peak, it was strong, but it just kept building up on itself. And it peaks at Piccolo Jr., if I'm being honest. And then we have Dragon Ball Z. Alright, this is where it gets serious. Okay, you thought Piccolo was a crazy threat. You thought Mercenary Tao. Right, you thought Pilaf was a threat. Son, you're not ready for the Saiyan Saga. Right, the Saiyan Saga is going in Z tier, because Nappa. Okay, so cool, but also because it just introduces a whole new scope, a whole new level of I don't even know how to describe it, but it just introduces terrible commentary by me, by the way. But it just broadens the whole scope and world of Dragon Ball. Okay, not only introducing aliens, but introducing that Goku is an alien and that his race is not very good. Okay, they're known for destroying worlds, taking them over, selling them, alright? Then the Frieza Force, alright? Also, Vegeta's character, ruthless, heartless, alright? He just slimes out Nappa, alright? His own team, I think the only other Saiyan that we know of alive at this time, obviously, his brother Tarble, and then Broly are still alive, and of course, Goku. But Raditz just got KO'd by Piccolo. And then Vegeta, sees Nappa losing. Instead of helping him, slams him out. Alright. Genuinely shows how powerful he is. And they all had to jump him, alright? Maybe a little Vegeta glaze, but they had to jump him, alright? No one could beat him one-on-one. Alright. And then Goku spared him. Why? Because he learned to have mercy. I'm moving this up to S here. Because I keep coming back to it. It taught him an important lesson. It taught us an important lesson. Okay? Then we had the Namek Saga. Now, the Namek Saga, absolute cinema. Okay? New world. Frieza Force, Dodoria, Kui, Zarbon, transformations. Frieza has 4.5, 100% power. Goku goes Super Saiyan. Why? Because Toriyama got sick and tired of inking Goku's hair. Alright. But nevertheless, it would be a disservice to put this in anything but Z tier. Alright. Just because the Namek Saga sets the stage for insane power scaling. Okay. Because we get to the thousands, the tens of thousands in the Saiyan Saga. And even the beginning of the Namek Saga with the Doria and Zarbon and Vegeta with Kui. But then Frieza's 530,000 in his first form. And then Goku Super Saiyan powers him 50 times. And now they're in the tens of millions, I think. Oh my gosh. We go from him being like, I want to say like maybe 200 or 300 in the Piccolo Jr. saga. It's a highball, maybe 50 million. Highball Goku is terrifying. Okay. Then we have the Garlic Jr. saga. I gotta put this in C tier. It's somewhat interesting, but placing this directly after the Frieza saga, sort of undermines the momentum that it was carrying. It's interesting nonetheless. Garlic Jr. is a fun character, but is this as good as the Piccolo Daimao saga? I don't think so. The stakes did not feel as high. Neither did the world building or the character growth. We have the Android saga, and now this is crazy for Z, but this is going in Z tier. All right, because it doesn't want to. Because Cell is the perfect villain. Okay. How do you build on world building when you've already conquered everything that you have on the planet they've already shown? You introduce more planets, you introduce aliens and their races. How do you conquer that? You introduce time travel. Right? Now you're messing with time. Okay. You start messing with time, changes a lot of stuff. The Trunks that we meet is not the Trunks that came in back in the first place, because he went back and he defeated the androids, but he did not defeat Cell. Cell jumped him, slammed him out, stole his spaceship, his time traveling spaceship, went back to the past. Okay. And he absorbed 17 and 18. He became complete. There he say perfect. Okay. Now, this saga is not perfect because, Goku did give him a Senzu beam, which, okay, he wants to push Gohan. Gohan isn't pushed. All right. Cell is about to slam everyone. He's about to blow himself up. So Goku sacrifices himself, redeems, himself. redeems himself from his mistake. Does the mistake lower this? Does it make it a bad saga? I don't think so. Just because it shows that he is, he's human. Obviously he's the same, but we're mortals. We make mistakes. Okay? It shows he made a mistake, but he also redeemed himself, One could even say he repented. Okay? Put the world in danger. So he sacrificed himself to protect them. Now Cell did come back. Even stronger. But he gave Gohan the motivation that he needed to just take care of Cell. That's why he goes in Z tier. Also because Vegeta goes Super Saiyan. Alright, and that's insanely tough theme that he gets when he turns Super Saiyan. Also, his fight with Android 20, ferocious. Alright. So get out of here. Alright. Other World Saga. Putting this in B tier. Alright, just because it's interesting, okay? It builds on King Kai. Alright, you meet the other Kais. You meet I believe his name is the Grand Kai. Alright, you meet other characters related to someone that was already introduced earlier. So it sets the stage for new characters to be made, especially because there's a tournament, Goku is keeping busy in the afterlife, okay? Just because he's dead doesn't mean he can chill, alright? He's getting stronger. He didn't plan on coming back, so I guess he's just getting stronger. Just because he likes to get strong. He likes to challenge himself, alright? How much battery do I have? 11%. That should be okay. Alright. Pycon is a tough character, right? All the other world fighters are pretty cool characters, especially because you don't just see them here. You see them in the Buu saga, alright, when everyone's in Otherworld. And then you see them in, I believe it was the high school saga or superhero saga. They're showing off the museum of the world's strongest fighters, and you see Goku, and you see another one of the fighters that was in the Otherworld saga. So they are canon to the story, at least to Super's continuity. Okay. Oh gosh. Let's try and end this quickly. The Buu saga. I'm putting this. This is a hard saga to rate. Okay. Because it has some fantastic moments. It has Ultimate Gohan. It has, Buu, which is an incredibly silly but kind of intimidating character when you think about the silly bubblegum guy just wreaking havoc. As Kid Buu, Super Saiyan 3, he goes even further beyond. Vegeta, he has his pride, okay? And then we have Vegito, he's born. Right? And Babidi and Dabura are solid side characters, alright? But, I saw a video on this. I forget the YouTuber's name. But Goku's kind of weird in the Buu saga. Okay, he seems to have forgotten a lot of key character traits from the Namek and the Android saga, where he should just finish off his opponent. But he's like, I'll let the kids do it, they gotta learn how to do it, it's their planet, why should I intervene? Alright, this is not my issue. Now a big problem with that is that already kind of happened in the Android saga with Gohan. Okay, he does teach the kids fusion, so he does go a little bit beyond. But when he already went beyond as a Super Saiyan 3, he should have just ended Buu, if I'm being honest. And he should have, piped down Vegeta. As much as I like him, I should have just put an end to all that, messing around, fighting. Like, dude, there is a demon. Alright, and you're worried about fighting Goku? Like, take care of the demon first, bro. Take care of the Majin. That's all I'm saying. Especially because then Vegeta sacrificed himself, but he didn't take out Buu, so it was all for naught. I didn't even do anything to Babidi. So I think I might leave it at A tier, just because it has some fantastic. Actually, I'll put it to S tier because it has fantastic moments, but it's kind of all over the place. And then Gohan unlocks a new form, but once again he gets cocky, like he did with Cell, and he doesn't finish him off. Zero handle with this. I feel like, yes, obviously they're not going to make some crazy growth, but also in that time span of the sagas, it's been 7 years. All right. First of all, Gohan stopped training. Second of all, you would think that after what happened with Cell, Gohan would at least remember, and be like, no, I can't keep messing around. I gotta end it. It has some good world building. Okay, introduces characters from the Demon Realm, which we, explore in Daima. But, it introduces a different power system as well that Babidi uses to measure Goku. And, Boo has his various forms. He can absorb people, kind of like Cell, but not really. Because Cell he does absorb people, but he only really needs to absorb 17 and 18 to become perfect. But even still, I feel like this saga could have definitely been improved by, at the very least, having one of them finish it, either Goku or Vegeta. Okay, have Vegeta's sacrifice mean something, and introduce another threat. Babidi could have put out Janemba. All right, that would have been crazy. And then Janemba turns on him. All right, he just goes crazy. I don't know. He's just always screaming. The Peaceful World Saga, aka the end of Z. I don't know where to put this. I mean, nothing crazy happens. Okay, like this is really like, oh no, we did it, guys. And then he goes and he trains Oob. Alrighty, once again, just dips. Alright. Oh, but I was saying, Goku, the YouTuber explained how Goku kind of lost his mind in Otherworld. Okay, not exactly sure why, but it seems that he lost his mind just because his actions seem a bit out of character. Alright. Just flying all over the place. He's not as serious as he was. He still recognizes danger. He recognizes the threat, but he's not as serious. He's little. He's not all there. All right. And a Peaceful World Saga. I feel like this is a pretty good end to Dragon Ball. I feel like this is a satisfying end. I didn't like how Gohan, I think, lost to Pan, in the sense that they were like, he stopped training now, baby can, mess him up, Come on, alright, he's gonna lose, at least say, his daughter has more potential, or say that, he wanted her to win, okay, because Gohan, all of his power-ups, to a child, kind of crazy, okay, kind of crazy. I'm just not sure how I feel about his character. They write him well, then he sort of falls down, then he comes back up, then he falls down. It's just sort of, mountains and valleys with Gohan. Okay, how am I doing? I'm at 3%. 3% does not sound very promising. Will it charge? We're good. We're good, fam. We're good. Then we have Daima. Now, if I'm being honest, Daima gets an S tier. Actually, no, a Z tier. I keep forgetting we got Z. Daima gets a Z tier because it goes back to OG Dragon Ball's road booting. I'm not the biggest fan that they turned them into kids, especially because this takes place after GT. At least it turns everyone into children and the children into babies. Kind of would have liked if they kept, Goten and Trunks as their ages, just so they could have, and I guess Marin too. Well, she's not too much of a fighter. She's just, she's Krillin and Android's 18's child. But would have been cool if Goten and Trunks were still kids. And, they obviously, incredibly strong for their age. They could have, helped out the crew in the Demon World. That's all I'm saying. But the characters, Degasu. Why am I forgetting his name? I was gonna say Moria, but that is from One Piece. I don't know, I'm forgetting his name, but we have Arinsu, we have Glorio, then we have Majin Buu and Ku. Alright. Kind of silly, but it's a much needed silliness, I feel. Especially with the crazy power scaling that we get in Super, I feel like this is a nice step back, and it builds on the Demon World, which we were just introduced to in the Buu Saga. This takes place a year after. Alright. Goku getting Super Saiyan 4, and it being heavily inspired by GT is not my favorite thing. I still love Daima. I love Super Saiyan 4 Goku. It's a cool form, but they could have switched it up a bit. If they gave it golden hair, this would have been like Z+. Okay. But, and it also breaks the timeline. Okay. But regardless of that, Vegeta gets Super Saiyan 3. Alright. Piccolo doesn't get too much time to shine. But, I feel like all the cast that gets taken to the Demon has at least a couple good moments. Whether that be in dialogue, whether that be in informing the viewer, or just creating action. I feel like everyone gets a slice of that cake equally, more or less. Okay, not equally, but everyone gets a slice, and I can say I'm satisfied with. All right, and that's why I put Daima so high, because it builds not just with the new realm, but it explains all the universes. Kind of ties to Super's world building. Not exactly. Introduces Rymus. Who is Rymus? Alright. Sort of explains where the Kais come from. They're going extinct. It's not very good. Overall, it's just peak. Right? It's funny. Alright. And obviously we know that after this we get End of Z, but it's still a fun thing to see. And I feel like End of Z is very smart and not having any of the characters use their transformations. Or, putting some room in there so you can squeeze a couple sagas, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 sagas before End of Z. But then we move into Super. Right? Super is super nice. Okay. It has some great things. It has some things that are okay. I feel like a big thing that botches Super is the animation. Because I read the manga. The manga's great. But I feel like it still has its Because Goku, if you thought he was a little cuckoo in the Buu Saga, a little silly in the Daima Saga, and in the End of Z Saga, he's a goofball. and Vegeta is all, becoming humble, gets overwritten. Right? He just wants to be stronger than Kakarot. Said again, Battle of Gods. I'm not putting it in C tier. It's a good re-intro into Dragon Ball. Okay, let's say you don't watch Daima. Alright? You have 3 paths. Okay? You have Daima. Actually, you have 4. You just have Z. Alright, you have Dragon Ball, and then you have Z. Then you have Daima. Then you have Super. And then you have GT. And the Super one, this is fairly good, because not only does Goku not be his opponent, it sets sort of a goalpost for not just Goku, but the rest of the cast. This is where we are now. Right? We are fighting leagues ahead of where we're at now. Introduces the multiverse, introduces the angels. Alright, later on we get introduced to Zeno. This is a great comeback. And a new transformation, it's good because it doesn't go crazy. It doesn't add longer hair. It doesn't make him even more buff. Slims him down, gives him red hair. It's a nice change. Alright. Also, Vegeta's fight with Beerus after he hit Bulma. Peak. Then you have Resurrection of Freezer. This is a divisive saga. Because on one hand, I really like it. Especially the song. But why is Frieza back? Okay. this could have been perfect to introduce Cooler into the franchise. Okay, into the canon, if you will. I said they bring back Frieza. I don't know. Now that I'm thinking about it, then he goes golden to mock the Saiyans. I mess with the golden purple, but come on. My ratings on Battle of Gods and Resurrection F come from the movies. I skip the anime because it's the same thing. Just Battle of Gods is a little different, but I'm not too crazy, especially because I read the manga. Okay. Resurrection of F gets. Why did I open my weather? Resurrection F gets. It gets an A tier, just because. Now that I'm thinking about it, they could have introduced Cooler. All right. Also, him just blowing up the planet. Like, why did they just not give Vegeta the win? This is going in B tier. All right, because actually, I'm putting this down to C tier. Because why? Actually, now that they put him in the other thing, I'm gonna move this on its own to C tier. Because why? Why did they not let Vegeta have the win? And why was Goku's guard so low that he got slammed out by Chilled? By Chilled? Okay, not Chilled. Is his name Chilled? I cannot recall. But he got that goon that brought him back. Okay. That Gohan is just like horrible. I mean, the Sparking Zero, the what if, it's tough. But and this one, then Piccolo gets slammed out again. All right, just for nostalgia. Universe 6 Saga. I'll put this in. The stakes are somewhat high. Okay, because Earth could get moved universes. How much would that really change? Not much. Okay. Well, I mean later on, maybe with copy Vegeta, future Trunks, I guess the universe. Okay, so the stakes are somewhat high, but we don't know that yet. It introduces some great characters. I don't really like the Universe 6 Saiyans in terms of their design, because especially in Z, the Saiyans are quite muscular. I don't understand how the Universe 6 Saiyans are so strong, yet they don't have as much muscle definition as the Saiyans in Dragon Ball Z. Okay, I have a very, very strong gripe with that. And then Kava's just, him being casually stronger is okay, but him getting mad just at the thought, of, his. I think he was just getting insulted. I don't know, but just from his mentality, not Krillin dying, okay, not Goku pushing Gohan, all right, not Vegeta training, not so he just let go of everything, all right, and then eventually Gohan training enough to be able to at least see the gate to Super Saiyan 2, and then Android 16's more or less sacrifice pretty much unlocks it because he's like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Okay, I have to protect the Earth. And then of course Goku gets Super Saiyan 3, Gotenks gets Super Saiyan 3. I think that's solid. Also a big gripe that I have Resurrection that I forgot to mention. Super Saiyan God just gets canned in place of Super Saiyan Blue or Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan. I like Super Saiyan Blue, but this would have been perfect to introduce into Future Trunks Saga, not Resurrection of Frieza, because not only did it eliminate the chance of it getting him a win, of it getting Super Saiyan God a win, but it also just sort of wrote it off. It's just, now we got the power of Super Saiyan God, so now we go Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan. Okay? Now, that's not really how Super Saiyan is, treated. At least in Z. Yes, there are evolutions, but the original does not get written off. Right? They still use Super Saiyan plenty. They still use Super Saiyan 2. They even use Super Saiyan 2 and Super. And they even use it in Diamond. Alright, they use each of the transformations in Diamond. That's all I'm saying. Hit is a great character. Metabo and I forget the Hasbro bear's name. They're alright, you know. Frost, you know, it's nice to see that there's a counterpart to Frieza. So Nice Guy act was pretty interesting. Kaioken Super Saiyan Blue was pretty fun. You know, it generates hype for sure. Monada, you know, being kind of a gag character is silly, but you know, stakes aren't too high. All right, then of course we get introduced to Zeno afterwards, and this, you know, more or less leads perfectly into future Trunks saga. I mean, the stakes just don't feel as high. Maybe because there's not as many spectators. I'm not too sure, but there's just something about this tournament as opposed to the Tenkaichi Budokais that I don't know. It doesn't feel the same. It's trying to do the same. It's trying to be a little different, but it's not there yet, man. This ain't it. In terms of becoming a new Tenkaichi Budokai, but in terms of, you know, expanding on the world building that they just did in Battle of Gods by introducing, you know, sort of the sister universe to Universe 7. It's Universe 6. Did they plan that out? I don't know. And it had some solid characters. Of course, I already forgot their names, but Botamo and, not Mekazawa, that's from Cromartie High School. If you know Mekazawa, elite ball knowledge, okay? But Hit is a great character. His time skip ability is interesting. The fact that there are other Saiyans I like, but I just don't like their designs. Alright. And, you know, Frost, it's cool. His little act was interesting. Then we have Copy Vegeta. The fact that Copy Vegeta soloed Gotenks is kind of crazy. Alright. Because, to my knowledge, Copy Vegeta is not only just a copy, but he was in base. And Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks just got one shot. Crazy work, right? Didn't even get like a couple hits in. To what I remember, it's a silly, you know, filler arc. You know, more or less on the Garlic Jr. and Otherworld sagas. You know, Otherworld is, you know, the best of these. But, you know, it doesn't have crazy stakes. Alright. You can sort of feel that it's a filler saga. Or at least a filler episode, you know. I feel like before I knew what filler was, watching Naruto, like the last episodes of OG Naruto, I knew that after that Sasuke retrieval, like most of this was like all over the place. I mean, the village hidden in the stars, what exactly is going on? It was interesting for sure. It was okay, you know, looking back at it on how it affected the story, because it did not learning it's not canon just destroys you. All right, if you know it's not canon going into it, and you just enjoy it for what it is, it's good. But if you are under the belief that it's canon, and then it's not, it's just forgotten about, written off, or no one mentions it ever again, they act as if it never happened, it's kind of annoying. All right, but you know, regardless of my stance on filler, I'm glad that they're bringing it back, they're bringing it seasonal. All right. Then we have the Future Trunks saga. Now the Future Trunks saga, it gets, I'll say it gets an S tier because it does the evil Goku. Oh dear, I'm hungry. It does the evil Goku scenario pretty good. I like how they keep using the other universes. Right? They're not just sticking in Universe 7. Now that they've introduced it, and a little dance with Frieza. Alright, now they're introducing other universes. I like it. Don't like how this ends, alright? I feel like the manga is way better because Goku actually uses the Hakai. But even still, it doesn't take care of Zamasu. I feel like that would have been a good ending there. Of course, in the manga, he just clones himself. Now, in the anime, he just sort of takes over Earth, you know, like he's all over the sky. Then he begins taking over the universe. It's okay. Goku Black and Zamasu are well-written characters. they have an objective that's set in stone. They know who they are. They know what they're doing. And they communicate that well to the viewer. You can feel the threat, but I feel like, and also the Super Saiyan 2 rage Trunks has. I mean, come on, the Ikari form. I mean, should not at least, I don't know, maybe give him Super Saiyan 3, give him Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Blue. He already has blue hair. I don't know, I just feel like them calling on Zeno to do it for them. I don't know, man. Like, why not just do that all the time? Okay, as a cop out. It's kind of like in Zelda with the timeline. All right, like the hero falls. Wouldn't that just happen anywhere if he falls? Universe Survival Saga. I think this gets an S tier as well. Again, they bring Frieza back. The third fucking time. I'm sick and tired of Frieza. Okay, like at this point, I'm like, oh my gosh. How many times are we gonna see Frieza? I get that Boo has hacks, but it still would have been fun to see Boo, participate in something. Alright, he hasn't been active since the Boo saga. Okay. It would have been nice to see him do something. Okay. Like Android 17 in this, him and Goku finally met, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, they did Tien and Roshi so dirty in the anime. Tien in the manga, kind of. Same thing with Krillin and the android. Except for 17 and 18, yeah. Even Piccolo. Piccolo and Tien get done so dirty in Super's anime. Regardless of that, the stakes are high. Ultra Instinct is an incredible transformation. Very unique. I like it. Jiren is quite the formidable opponent just because he's probably one of the only rivals that Goku's had that, Goku really struggled with him. He had to push himself 3 times to take him over. Him absorbing the power of the Spirit Ball is cool, but I like the manga, especially because it shows that Roshi, he has a grasp of it. And then it shows that, all of his training since OG Dragon Ball has led up to Ultra Instinct. Absolute sin. Alright. And the selfless wish is very good. Because it shows that the Zenos aren't inherently evil, but they want to test, the other universes. Then the Broly saga. The Broly saga gets a Z tier. Because Broly is a phenomenal character, and so is Paris. Forgot to mention earlier. Chila and Lem were pretty good side characters. Get Frieza's back, okay, but he comes back in an okay way. I don't mind this, especially because Broly annihilates him. Get introduced to Gogeta in the canon, in the canon of Super. Okay, this fight with Broly was incredible. All right, the animation for this movie, the stakes for this movie, like Broly just keeps powering up. Like, what are we gonna do? Oh, let's just use. Okay, now you gotta power up still. And the fact that Broly was only really saved because I believe Chi-Lai wished him to be moved to safety, right? Or be moved back to his planet. Okay. The whole movie is peak. And then he's like, by the way, you can call me Kakarot. Yo, son, crazy. And then Vegeta's fight, it's incredible. His transformations, alright. The cinematography for this movie is just awesome. Then the Galactic Patrol side. I'm terribly excited for this to get animated because this is a Z tier saga. Okay. It does bother me that Vegeta gets once again done dirty. But regardless of that, insane character growth. He goes under the same training that Goku did, but even more. All of the Yardrat techniques that he mastered. OP and insane. Okay. Him using instant transmission. That entrance that he did. Infinite aura. Alright. Hello, Kakarot. Okay. Everyone's fight with Moro was really tough. And the fact that it even gave a light to the side characters, it gave Yamcha, it gave Tien, even Chaozu, sometime to shine. Krillin and Roshi, this is a very well written arc. And even Goku, just, letting go. not as much in the same sense as when Android 16 told Gohan to let go, but in the sense that, he kept calm. He stood his ground. It's very good. Very good. And then he powered up. He got his Susanoo, which no one really understands still. We're just calling it a Susanoo because, it resembles a Susanoo from Naruto. Granola the Survivor. I gotta put this in Z tier as well because it introduces, a great character with, pretty solid reasoning. It introduces the Heaters, which I think are pretty well written, okay? Like, as characters, they are, bad characters in terms of, like, their ambitions and their characteristics, but regardless of that, I feel like the the Survivor Saga is very solid. Not only does it give Vegeta a chance to shine, it also shows where he exactly needs to grow. It doesn't say, just follow, Goku's steps. No, he can take his own path, but he has to take steps, right? He can't just, take his own path. He has to let go of his past. Which sort of, kind of steers away from his humble end in the Buu Saga and an end of Z. It's still pretty good. Ultra Ego is an incredible power up. It's purple. It's beautiful. Alright. That gold earring again, purple and gold. Beautiful combination. But regardless of that, and then Black Frieza showing up and one-shotting Goku and Vegeta in their strongest forms. Goku having his own form of Ultra Instinct. Granola shortening his lifespan. Being like a sniper. It's crazy, and I love it. Alright, this does a lot, and it does it well. And the High School Saga, I'll give this. I mean, it's fun, but I just know that this is, more or less filler, especially because, it doesn't give a crazy amount of shine to Goten and Trunks. It gives an okay shine to Trunks, but to Goten, I feel like, especially like the Clean God or something, like the bonus shine. Like, it's fun and it's well written, but Dragon Ball is more or less a world building and stakes and crazy fights kind of show, and it obviously needs a lot of emotion and story. But when it's just, sort of, slice of life like this, like, maybe there's like a side, spin-off. But in the main series, having it be its own thing, like if it was like a couple episodes, like I even feel like the High School Saga from Z was a bit too, like if it was only like 2 or 3 episodes to set the stage, I don't think we need that big of a saga. Of course, the zombie androids are pretty interesting. It introduces Dr. Dr. Hero, I think his name is. Introduces the rebuilding of the Red Ribbon Army. It's good, but I feel like Goten and Trunks still, they need to get some sort of spotlight. Same thing with the Earth. Which leads me into superhero. Now, superhero, I think I will put in S tier. It's not get as easy because we do not get to see complete Gotenks. But we do finally, Piccolo finally gets put on the same stage as Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan. And of course Gohan gets his own, power up out of nowhere. But Piccolo, not only gets his potential out, but I feel it feels kind of like a full circle moment, Kami created the Dragon Balls, and then he has Shenron to, unleash his potential. Instead of calling Goku and Vegeta, which is okay. It's like, I'm not too bothered by it. Because, part of him, Kami, created the Dragon Balls. So, and then Shenron throws something extra in there. Comes full circle. I like it. Especially the tree that he gets on his back when he transforms. Him being the same color scheme as the Dragon Balls is kind of nice. Alright. I like it. Gohan getting another power up. and it's his own power up. We don't really know where this comes from. Is it an evolution of Ultimate? Is he combining Ultimate with Super Saiyan? You know, it's not a technique like Ultra Instinct or Ego or like Super Saiyan God. You know, there's no God Key. So it's his own thing, but you know, and then it's like built on rage. He loses himself. It's a very well designed and cool transformation, but I feel like it needs some more explaining. Like, he looks like a Supreme Kai, but it's not. It has no God Key, so it's not like a Super Saiyan Rose kind of like Goku Black thing. But regardless of it, I feel like it's still bringing back the Red Ribbon Army is okay. They already did that in the Cell Saga, but it's not terrible. It's not bad. It's fairly good. The Gammas are good characters. Dr. Hedo, he's not a bad guy. Right? That sort of redeems him. Cell Max, I would have loved to see a perfected Cell Max. Besides that, and Gotenks, or Goten and Trunks not getting too much shine. This is a nice year. Alright. The Black Star Dragon Ball Saga. I gotta wrap this up. I'm getting hungry. It's good because it reintroduces Pilaf. Alright, it does world building, but it's not as good as Super, just because it feels like, oh, they're just going around planet to planet. No real threats coming their way besides the fact that Earth is gonna, get blown up because of the witch. Because they need to bring the Black Star Dragon Balls back. They may be made by the nameless Namekian is okay. I don't know. I feel like this gets. It just feels like they're just going from planet to planet. Nothing crazy is going on. It has some okay characters, but it's not like anything really stands out. And ooh, I'm not going with Goku, Trunks, and Pan. Kind of rubs me the wrong way. Vegeta not going is okay because he can protect Earth. Same thing with Gohan, Trunks, and Goten. Also, them not getting too much of a spotlight in GT. Come on, guys. Like Trunks does, but it doesn't get Super Saiyan 4. I know that they didn't do that because they didn't know what to color his hair, but I mean, come on, is that big of a deal? Okay, it doesn't matter. The Baby Saga does get an A tier though, just because it introduces Super Saiyan 4. It brings back the Ozaru, the Great Ape transformation. And Baby, as a character himself, is pretty well written. He's getting revenge because the Saiyans overtook his planet. It goes back to that history that we learned so long ago in Z. And, it shows that, that stuff is not forgotten. Right? And then Goku comes full circle as well, not just transforming into Ozaru, but also going Super Saiyan 4. And it's kind of ironic because Baby takes over Vegeta, the Prince of the Saiyans, and he turns into a Golden Ozaru as well. Very well written. And then they wish the Earth back, it's good. Super 17 is going in C2 just because, I mean, what exactly is going on? Like, they unleash the bad guys from hell. Super 17, it feels like it's like 3 episodes. This could have been a movie. This would have been a tough movie. Also, the foreheads and the chins in Dragon Ball GT are ferocious. Okay, I don't know what happened with Dragon Ball's character designs. Like, not just in GT, but then in Super, Somehow Goku has scoliosis, right? Nothing aligns. Also, the shininess is ferocious in Super. Like, I'm okay with the highlights, but don't make everything so shiny and plastic looking. Alright, in my opinion. Yeah, Super Saiyan is okay. I feel like it doesn't have too much of an impact on the story. It could not happen. And nothing crazy would have happened. I mean, what, Goku goes to hell and then he goes to like that other in between realm, and Supreme Kai, or at least he's merged with I'm blanking on his name. This is what's awesome about being a Dragon Ball fan. You forget almost everything. Kibito Kai, Shibito Kai, Shib, saves Goku. Elder Kai brings back his tail. They unlock a new transformation. They somehow know, or at least they know that that's the way to pull him beyond. Okay. And I'm going crazy because that actually happened in the Baby Saga. That's how he got Super Saiyan 4. He went to hell. And then he just came back. Yeah, I'm geek. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. See, it proves my point what I said about Dragon Ball fans, but that only makes the Super 17 saga worse, okay, because it had no stakes. Alright. Like, Android 18 fought him, but it's not like she grew too much as a character because of it, you know. Krillin, Marin, you know, could have fought. The Shadow Dragon saga, it gets an A tier. It would have been an S tier, but some of the Shadow Dragons are, they're okay. Their writing is okay. Certainly, everything coming full circle on the Dragon Balls themselves, turning into people, turning evil, guarding the actual Dragon Ball themselves. You know, I feel like this is a very well written scenario. The characters are okay. I feel like the only real good ones are the 4-star and, you know, Omega Shenron. Omega Shenron, Sin Shenron. I feel like the other ones are written alright, but I feel like out of everyone, I feel like Omega and a 4-star Dragon guy are good. I'm forgetting his name. Especially because he ends up helping Goku, because he realizes that Omega he's a bad guy. Right? Like, yeah, he's one of his own, but you know, his intentions are awful. Right? Like, he realized, yes, the Earth messed up with the Dragon Balls, but you know, to destroy them all, you know, not really the solution. But they're being corrupted by the, you know, I guess sinful wishes. It's a good story premise. Also, we get Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. The ending is, I'm not going to say it's bad. I'd say it's good, but it's just a little confusing. Because, okay, Goku, yeah, he's still a kid. It would have been nice if they wished him to be an adult again, you know. Excuse me. And for him to, you know, just sort of, you know, be able to relax again, you know, in the peaceful world that we thought was there. But, no. Apparently he died. You know, at the end of at the end of GT. But you know, his spirit was there, and then he eventually merged with the Dragon Balls, and he came back, like 100 years later. You have Goku Jr. and Vegeta Jr. at the martial arts tournament. Like, it's okay. Not the biggest fan of how, like, their descendants, like even Bulma's descendant looks exactly like him. Okay. It's okay that Gotenks doesn't have his parents, but you know, Pan still being around, you know, it could have been like a Goku thing, raising himself. I don't know. Did I say Goten? Maybe, but Goku Jr. At least in my opinion. Alright, and then like, it generally does feel like a Super Saiyan bargain sale, because, okay, yes, okay, they have S sales, but like, at least with Trunks and Goten, they did training. Alright, then I feel like with Goku and Vegeta Jr., they could just turn Super Saiyan, especially the Universe 6 Saiyans. Okay, another gripe. But regardless of that, wonderful song for GT. Okay. I know more or less everything coming circle, you know, ending with the Dragon Balls, and then Goku, that last farewell hit different. Okay, him, I don't know, being like some sort of guardian of Earth, right, just fading in and out. Alright. There's a statue of him. I feel like this is it's a pretty good send-off. It's a very well written send-off to the Dragon Ball franchise at that branch. Alright. But regardless, that is the end. I feel like I went with the Black Star Travel because it wasn't that bad, you know. Some of the characters were interesting. Okay. It was fun to explore. It just got repetitive. Okay, so go explore, get trained. Go explore, fight. Go explore, fight. Okay. But regardless of that, everyone, that is tier list. I hope you all enjoyed. Finally eat dinner. How long is this video? An hour long. That's kind of crazy, but it's on the shorter side, not gonna lie. I tend to yap a lot. Don't really know too much about what I'm saying. But I'm at least saying something. Okay, but there is the tier list for you guys. Alright. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Hopefully I upload this today. If not, then another day. God bless y'all. I'll see y'all in the next one.